Hey everybody, my name is Matt Parrado with Dealer Services Network. I'm a regional vice president here overseeing the west side of the United States. I'm joined by with Stacy Allen at Dealer Services Network, also a regional vice president. How you doing, Stacy?
Great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. So today we are here to talk about House Bill 718. I know we've talked about it over the last couple of months, and it's finally here, and there's no delaying. I know that's been a hope of a lot of dealers that it's going to be delayed, but it seems like this thing is pushing through. They're wrapping up the final development of the front side of the webDEALER and the ePlate system. So just here to kind of go over things that we do know that are coming July 1st. A lot of dealers have questions of how it's going to work on a day-to-day basis. Is probably scaring a lot of dealers of the unknowns. But mostly, I think today, let's talk about what we do know, and we can just go from there. How's that sound, Stacy?
That's fantastic. Yeah, I know a lot of dealers probably have concerns as far as, navigating these changes, which obviously we're here to help. But yeah, certainly kicking things off with good news, I feel like would be a good idea.
Yeah, I love starting any conversation with good news before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of honestly a bill that no one really wants to see. Maybe besides law enforcement, quite frankly. But dealers definitely didn't want this to happen. But the good news, let's start with the good news. Senate Bill 1902. This was a bill created based off of House Bill 718, where initially House Bill 718 had a provision in there stating that on a trade-in vehicle, so you're a dealership and you're taking a car in on trade, whatever plates are on that vehicle, we're going to stay with that vehicle. And what that meant is the vehicle, you take it in on trade, you have to then take those plates off, walk it back to a safe facility, a room in your facility, put them away and save them for when you were going to resell that vehicle. Which that
Managing of inventory.
Managing of inventory, trusting your employees, and honestly, from a timeliness manner, you know how fast cars get turned around sometimes. That plate can get lost in transit, and you can have some serious compliance issues. Right. So I think everyone right away realized this may not be the best way to do things, and they proposed the bill to get that overturned. And it actually was voted on unanimously, which is fantastic. It's now at the governor's office on his desk waiting to be signed. So it hasn't been signed yet. We don't really foresee a reason why he wouldn't sign it. As of right now, it's planned to be signed. And what the bill reads today is that the plates are going to stay with the individual. Now, I'll kind of run through a quick little scenario how that works. I go in to trade my vehicle and buy a new car. If I want to buy a new vehicle, they're going to take my plates off of my car and put them on the new one that I'm purchasing. So right there, moves over. You're literally just transferring the VIN because those plates already belong to me. So it's less registration that you have to do or manual input. If I go in and my plates are damaged or I want new plates, dealership gets to destroy the old ones. So we're not going to have.
Follows you as the individual.
Follows me as the individual, which is fantastic. So we're off to a good start with some good news.
Yeah. Sure.
So let's go into more of House Bill 718. What July 1st is going to look like. As of today, most dealers have started to get their plate inventory. You're going to see every dealer by June 20th have their plate inventory.
Okay, that's the deadline to be receiving. And is there a certain allotment that dealers are going to be receiving? Is it a month's worth? Is it a quarter's worth?
Yeah, they don't get to choose. Okay. It's based off the last year's sales, and they're going to give you a 6 months inventory of new plates.
Okay. So on your monthly average volume
your monthly average volume, they're going to give you 6 months. By now, hopefully, you've already designated the room where you're going to keep these in. You have to have your filing cabinets lock and key. So hopefully by now, if you haven't done that, and I'm sure it was already required per training, but go out and get that situated and do the math in your head of how many plates you're going to be receiving. If you do 4,000 cars in a year, you're going to get 4,000 plates for 6 months because there's 2 plates per vehicle. So just be prepared. prepared for that. So by June 20th, if you have not received your plates by June 20th, you need to raise your hand and call Texas DMV and figure out what's going on, what went wrong, because something went wrong at that point.
Okay.
And then, yeah, exactly. So then we're going to make our way to July 1st. And July 1st is the hard cutoff when paper temporary tags are going away. And you have to run every transaction through webDEALER. You know, as I've been speaking with dealers over the last couple of months, one question keeps coming up is what happens to those transactions and the paperwork that I sell on June 30th? You know, I still have it. I was never on webDEALER before. July 1st, now I have to be on it. Can I still walk it into my full service deputy or walk it into the county for it to be processed the old fashioned way? The answer is no.
I was going to say, I assume the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no. So even if you sold it before date, and there's going to be a grace period, they're allowed to have the paper tag if it was sold in June 30th, but you as the dealership have to process that deal through
webDEALER.
And June 30th may not be the best example because you're going to be probably used to it by now. By the time that paperwork makes its way back to the office and goes through billing and the title clerk does the responsibilities, you're going to be ready to process that in webDEALER. It's probably going to be the deals that are sold today, honestly, that have made it down the line that you might either want to get it done right away or
those deals that are hung up for whatever reason. Yeah.
That's right.
We're going to want to get those pushed through as quickly as possible.
Yep, exactly. So another thing that we also know is obviously I mentioned before the paper tags are going away, but you're going to have 4 new license plates be entered into circulation. So you're going to have
what type of transaction is the type of plate you'll be utilizing.
Yep, exactly. And they're kind of clear on what they're used for. For example, you're going to have an out-of-state buyer's tag. It's going to have a green border. What these are for is you sell a vehicle to somebody who lives in New Mexico. What you're going to do is you're going to put this tag on their car. It's good for 60 days, and that individual is going to drive away. And the good news about it is you don't have to get that tag back. So you're actually putting a hard plate on the car. It's good for 60 days as long as you registered it correctly in the ePlate system. Then you're good to go. You're covered.
So dealers are going to hold not just the in-state Texas inventory, but also the other variations that are going to be needed as well.
That's correct. So you're going to have your general tag, which is that black and white one that everyone's accustomed to seeing. And then 4 additional tags will be held on site. One being your dealer tag. So for test drives and dealer purposes, you're going to have a temporary tag as well. So if a customer isn't ready to buy the vehicle, is interested but not ready to sign on the dotted line, you can put that tag. So you're going to have those situations as well. Now, another question that dealers have had is how do you get more plates and how do you manage this inventory from the state? Are they telling them, hey, we need more or we need less? And how is this going to work? So initially how it will work is you have 30 days from the time you sell a vehicle to register with VTN. So you're going to submit the deal into VTN, which is the vehicle transfer notification, letting the state know that this plate has been used. And then later on through the IMS system, which is the inventory management system, is where you'll order new plates. So you'll see your inventory getting low. So you're going to do your own little audits on it. And then you'll go in, you'll request more plates. They're only going to allot you kind of what you've used or selling. So you can't just make up a random number per se. So using the VTN is going to allow the state to know what you're using. Using IMS is going to allow you to order the plates.
So essentially they'll know when you're running low, if and when you need more, which is good to obviously be auditing that along the way anyways. And as far as monitoring your volume versus the plate inventory that you have, I'm certain that dealerships sit and build big enough to house all of this inventory and store documents and all of that anyways. So they'll probably be keeping it to a minimum.
Correct. Yeah, it's definitely a burden on the dealer. So if they can minimize it, the better. At the same time, you don't want to be without a tag because then what do you do? So it's kind of a give and take in that situation. You kind of heard me mention it earlier. So I think it's good to reference it. everyone now in the state of Texas is used to the e-tag system when you're putting a paper tag on the vehicle, and that's how you're doing the temporary registration. We finally now know the new name. It's going to be called ePlate. So we got real creative there on the name change and just change the last N. So we're going away with tags, and we are now going to plates. So for your F&I, if sales, if you handle that, be very familiar with, it's still going to be kind of the same little click button. Is just change the name from tag to plate.
The verbiage, I feel like, is going to be hard for everybody to let go when you're used to saying one thing and now it's changing to another.
That's right. And that's you're going to have a great point. Yeah, you're going to be great. It's this whole thing is what has a lot of dealers kind of worried about, is just a change in their workflows of how things are done. It's the verbiage, actually putting the metal plate on the vehicle, making sure that it matches what you're putting on the vehicle in the system. Well, these are all very important things that we're just have to get used to. So inventory processes, metal plate processes on how to retrieve the plates from your office, how to put them on, how you put them into the ePlate. These are all things that, quite frankly, the dealership is going to have to experience and then come up with a process on best practices, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think in any case, when there is a huge state change happening, the concerns are obviously always the unknowns, and you don't know until you're in the thick of it. The good thing is obviously we've navigated this in other states before. So just letting all the dealers know, we're obviously, DSN is here to help. And we're staying on top of all of these rules and regulations and all of the changes as they happen as to expectations, obviously keeping all of our dealers in compliance. Huge, major importance there. So
yeah, compliance. And then a big thing, Stacy, and I know you see this all the time with our customers in other states, it's the ease of mind of knowing that we can support them when they have these questions, and they don't have to rely just solely on getting someone at the county to answer their phone call or the state to answer their phone call. We're there, we're doing the research, we're being very proactive of working with the county, working with the state, getting expert product knowledge people to understand this process, to understand the Texas DMV rules and regulations, so the dealers have another outlet to call.
Right, definitely an additional resource, to consult with. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And then the processes as well. We're able to implement processes for their dealerships or suggest processes for their dealerships to help it be streamlined, efficient, effective, and stay in compliance. It's a big concern. Another big concern. I keep saying that. Another big concern. Once again, it's the unknowns. It is turnaround times and how fast can things get done. And just kind of paint a picture for everybody. You have a few thousand dealers as of today, or let's back it up a couple of weeks ago or months ago. A few thousand dealers were already on webDEALER. Some counties weren't on webDEALER because their dealerships weren't on webDEALER. And now everybody's forced to make this transition. So you're going to go from a few thousand dealerships on webDEALER to 25,000 dealerships on webDEALER at one time. And
knocking down the bandwidth.
We gotta hope that the site holds up, and I think we should believe that it will, but be prepared for some bumps along the way. Just knowing that we have 25. Now you're not gonna have every dealership doing multiple transactions on July 1st, but you never know what that type of onboarding is going to look like. So one facet of this whole process that's not changing is going to be the registration stickers. So that process as it stands today will be the same. So for example, if you're a dealer deputy, so you're deputized and you have stickers in-house, that will remain. As long as you continue to pay your bond, continue to be deputized, you'll have stickers in-house. So when the deal is finalized in webDEALER by your county or your full service deputy, you'll then be able to issue the registration sticker. If you're not deputized, you do not have stickers in-house, not a problem. Just how it is today. When the deal gets finalized, it's going to be issued directly from the county in which you got your deal processed.
Right.
So it's nice to have some things that are staying consistent.
For sure.
Yeah. Also, ordering more stickers is going to be through your county as well.
Okay. Yeah. I think before we wrap up, if you could for all the dealers out there, I would like to know as well, from start to finish, a transaction in webDEALER to registration, just high level overview. What does that look like?
Yeah, so in general terms, it's a great question because I've had this come up already where how is this going to look? Because we don't do webDEALER now, or even if they did webDEALER, we don't issue plates at point of sale. So how is this going to work? Great question. So you're going to obviously sell the vehicle, makes its way to finance. I'm using general terms, and if your dealership does it a little different, you'd understand at this point where you're going to do the initial registration paperwork with the dealership with the customer at point of sale. So you're going to go into webDEALER, go into ePlate, and you're going to click on ePlate and put in the plate number that you're going to put on the vehicle.
Okay.
So you register it with ePlate. F&I then goes out onto the car, puts the plate on. The customer is going to get a receipt. Essentially, it's a temporary registration for that metal plate until it's finalized, saying that this is the vehicle that's supposed to be registered to, this is the plate, and then this is who it belongs to. And that customer is supposed to keep that with them for 30 days until they get their permanent registration. So that's very important.
I was going to say, in the event that that's what you're going to keep in your glove box, God forbid, in the event that something were to happen, showing proof of this is my vehicle, just waiting on permanent.
That's right. It should automatically be in the system. This is the whole point of webDEALER, that it's automatically in the system, but having the receipt is just a backup, quite frankly. If the system goes down or something happens, you have the receipt that the vehicle is registered to you. This is your tag, so on and so forth. So that will happen. And then the process from that point on is going to be kind of similar. So the customer left with the plates. Then I'm sure it makes its way back to the back office. You go through billing, you get funded, and then it makes its way to the title clerk. The title clerk at this point does take on a little bit more responsibility than they were doing before. So they're going to have the physical paperwork in front of them that was signed at point of sale. They're going to pull up webDEALER, and they're going to input the information from the title pack into webDEALER, making sure that everything matches. And this is very important because once you register this vehicle or title this vehicle through webDEALER, if you put the wrong color and we try to process this, you can't back that out of webDEALER. There's certain things in webDEALER that you cannot change. So the title clerk is going to be diligent at reviewing the information, putting the information into webDEALER, and then scan the documents into webDEALER. So you're going to take the title pack and you're going to scan those documents that match what's in webDEALER into the system. At that point, you're going to hit approve, which then makes its way to your county or your full service deputy that you're using. At that point, you wait for the review. If it's rejected, it comes back to you and you have to fix the deal. If it's accepted, you get notified that it's been accepted. If you're a dealer deputy, at that point, you're going to issue the permanent registration sticker. If you're not a dealer deputy, then the county in which it was registered, the sticker will be mailed out. Also, within that 30 days, as I mentioned before, you have to go into the VTN and report the sale. So it notifies the state that these plates have been officially used and they're out of your inventory.
Okay, so the systems aren't talking to each other, so it's not immediate that takes place. That's
No,
an additional step.
Correct. They want you to do that additionally as well.
Okay.
Yeah, webDEALER is just saying that this car, this is how this is the method in which we're delivering the vehicle to the state, or the information to the state, excuse me.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's it. It's I know we did it very general. There's other little steps and intricacies, and I'm sure every dealership does things differently. So that's just the overall picture of how things might work. A big recommendation that I would give all dealers out there is take things day by day as July 1st comes. We understand that the generic deal, the perfect one, the one we all want, should run smoothly for you, right? Some process changes you got to get used to should run smoothly. We might come into some situations that are the oddballs, and we just don't know, how to navigate those. That's what we're here for, quite frankly, is to be that support, that sounding board, that consultant, quite frankly. We've mentioned this multiple times throughout this conversation. We do this on a day-to-day basis over 5 different states. We operate over 50 private tax agencies across those states, processing well over 6,000 transactions per day. Although state by state things do change a little bit, in general, it kind of remains the same. We're here to support you as you go through this. If you ever have questions, concerns, comments, please do not hesitate to reach out. We will attach our personal email addresses on this, as well as you can visit www.dsn.net for more information and to reach out to us.